In this video, we're going to talk about the property details screen. So the first thing to do is how to get to the property details screen. So we got to find a property that we've mailed out. Let's just do that by clicking this property list. We're going to search for the test properties, and I'll just pick test number 3 here. So this is the property details screen, and there's a lot of information here, but basically this is a place where you can put in details about any property. You'll see that some of this information is already populated. This is what happened when you imported property records. We got the property APN, the state, size, county, legal description, owner information here, our reference number, even if you're not using that, that's going to import. When we mailed the letter, the mail status changed to mailed. It's either mailed or nothing. We have no result because this would be if we get a response. So let's say we're looking at this because we've gotten a response back. We're going to change this to response. Similarly, if you got a bad address or an angry response, you could pick one of those options as well. Our offer date was calculated when we sent the letter, and our offer amount. The system did this calculation on offer price per acre, and it calculated a target remail date. So this is just a reminder that on September 23rd, 2020, we are going to remail this property. That's a long ways out. This must have been part of a different test, but that variable is set on the home screen. As you can see, there's a lot of information here. You can put in more details when you get responses back, the owner's phone number, email. This is information about the property itself. You could look up when it was last sold and what it was sold for, any back taxes, tax liens, things like that. Here's where you're going to track, if you buy it, when you bought it, when you sold it, what you sold it for. If it's under terms, you could put the start and end date here. Some people like to put in the assessed value, the township range and section, subdivision. All these things are just due diligence items that you could track for these properties. There's more information here on the right you can fill in. This is a place to put in a Google Maps link. Let me show you how that works. I have a maps open here. I could put in a place. Let's just pick somewhere near Pikes Peak here. And got that. Let's just create this link, copy the link, and we will put it in here. So now that link is there. If you ever wanted to get back to that map, one, you can copy it here, but also you can click this little globe icon and it will take you to the map that you created, which is kind of neat. The other thing that we can do here is we can put in GPS coordinates, and let me show you something cool about the GPS coordinates. So let's go back to this map. We'll use these coordinates here that we just did. So I'm going to copy that in here, and I'm going to do the longitude. Okay, now that we've gotten the main GPS coordinates, if we had an actual parcel, we could put in the different corners here, the same thing. But one neat thing about the program is that once you have these center coordinates, you can click this little map icon here, and it's going to find the elevation. So if you watch here, we're going to click, and there we go. We found our elevation. Obviously, that's really high. It's at the top of Pikes Peak, but this will find the elevation automatically for any GPS coordinates that you put in. So if I were to change this, let's just change this to 104. I have no idea where that will be, but let's just see what happens. Yep, we got a different elevation, 584204. And what this is doing is it's going out to the U.S. Geological Survey website and pulling this information back in automatically. It's a really quick way to figure out elevations. There's other options here. Water, sewer, electricity. This is the things that people ask about the properties. This is a place to fill in your due diligence. Now what we have here is a property detail screen with a lot of the information filled in. This is one where more of the due diligence was done on this property. As you can see, a lot of the fields are filled in. But what I wanted to show you here was that there's a cool feature. One of the things that I get asked for a lot is what are the GPS coordinates of the parcel? If someone's going to go out, they want to go to the corners or whatever it is. A lot of times it's a pain to copy and paste all that stuff into an email or a text. What you can do with this is you can click this copy GPS button. It brings up all the coordinates in one screen, so you can just highlight, do a little copy. You can copy with Control C or Apple C, depending on what you're using, and then you could paste that into an email or a message. Okay, we're going to keep moving here. So one of the last things on this screen is this property remail button. I'm going to do an entire video dedicated just to remailing properties, so please watch that. We're not going to cover it here, but this is a quick way to remail individual properties. There's also a bulk remail option, so watch the remail properties video. But what I want to show you now is these various tabs up here in the property details screen. Correspondence is how you're going to track the various correspondence you either have with a seller of a property or the buyer of a property, and you can track the whole thing. The first entry that's going to be entered here is mailed offer. This is done by the system. When you mail out your offer, it's going to put in the date and it's going to say mailed offer, and that's just the starting place. Then you can manually put in the different things that happen. So on the 20th, I got a response letter back. On the 22nd, I contacted the seller, but she said she wanted us to contact her in May. She's out of town. I waited a little bit longer in June. I still haven't contacted because I was out of money. This is just tracking the progression. So you can see the last one here is July 1st, 2019. I called the seller, I left a voicemail. So say I called again today. Let's pretend today is July 15th. Called seller again. Wants me to call back in August. So not a great sign, but this is what we're going to do for this example. You'll see as I click out of here and enter it, it's actually going to move that entry to the top of the list, and so you can see the most current thing at the top of the list. Now, one cool thing about this is also viewable in the due diligence screen. So this little funnel, if you remember, is where we see the properties in due diligence. And this particular property is what we were working on, and you can see here that the trail of correspondence is going to show here on the due diligence screen as well, so you can quickly see where you are with the various properties that you're working on. So let's get back to that property for a minute. So we were in the correspondence tab. So it's a cool way to do it. There's also this area here if you wanted to upload documents. So say you got a copy of the response letter and you wanted to save a copy of it here, you can do that. You just use the upload or download buttons, and they get saved in this area as well. Now let's talk about the chain of title tab, which is here. This is a way to for you or your VA to put in the chain of title, so it's easy to see how title has passed between the various parties. Obviously, this is if you're not using a title company, if you're just doing this yourself. So in this example, I've put in 3 entries. You can see that back in 1990, state of Colorado granted this to John Smith. In March of 2000, John Smith quitclaimed it to Joe Smith, and in Joe Smith in April of 2004 sold it to Jack Patterson on a warranty deed. Jack paid $12,000, just a little notes. And then if I was going to buy this, I would put this in for myself as well. So grantor would be Jack Patterson, grantee the land mailer. And we would do this on a warranty deed. Let's just say this is 9119. And document number, this is a lot of times the recorder will assign a document number or some sort of transaction number. You can put that in here as well. So it's just a way to just to track what's going on. I think it's an easy way to track chain of title because sometimes it does get confusing, and you can easily see what's happening here. Next, let's talk about the responses tab. So this is a place where you can preset responses to questions that you get quite a bit, so it's easy to copy and paste them into a message window or an email. And this is the questions that you get asked over and over again, like, are there utilities on the property? Can I build? Do they allow RV camping? Things like that. You can put in this is just for your own reference, so you can just put in, so let's just say this is camping, and I want the response to be you know, yes, there is camping, you know, 2-week limit. Let's just say that for this example. So I can just keep adding these in. Let's just do the GPS coordinates as well. Say I wanted to have that here as opposed to on that other screen. So let me copy these from here. We're going to copy the GPS coordinates. And I'm going to put them here. So now I have these responses. And so as people call and say, or email or message and say, can you camp on the property? All I have to do is select those, do a copy. I'm pressing Control C. You can't see it, but I'm copying that, and then I could paste that text, somewhere else. And so it's just a handy tool. It's a handy tool. You don't have to use it, but some people like to use it. You can delete these out, obviously, if you wanted to get rid of a response. This information button here, sometimes your text might be really long. You might have a whole list of all the property details. Let me just make this really long just for the example. And it's gonna, it'll go beyond the size of this field. That's okay. You can press this I button. It's gonna bring up a window with the whole thing. You can do a select and copy and paste the whole thing into your email or message window. So kind of a cool little feature. The last tab here on the property details window or property details screen is the seller questions. Again, this is just a tool to help if you want to use it. These are the questions that I typically ask if I am talking to a seller on the phone after they get my letter and they call me back. I may want to just want to have this up as a visual reminder to ask, these 6 questions, and I can just populate the responses here. Or if you have an intake manager or something like that, they can log into this. They can put these responses in. It's just a handy tool to write things down or keep track of what their responses are. So when you start your due diligence, you can reference this. Again, completely optional, but a handy little tool if you wanted to have a place to record those questions or have your VA record the answers to those questions. So that is the property details screen. There's a lot there, but as you use this, you find that there's a lot of great fields here to track information and a good way to keep track of where you are in the process with each property.